Woohoo! If I was not a teacher and I read this topic, I would just be like, I am out of here. What the heck? Honestly, I let me see if I can dissect this title a little bit. Simplifying just means we're going to be combining like terms. A sum or difference, that means we're going to be doing some adding and subtracting of three. So we're going to have three things to add or subtract. Univariate is scaring the crap out of you probably, but all it means is that you have one variable. Like you're not going to have x, y, and z. You're just going to have like an x. That's it. So it's a univariate. Polynomial are things that you've already worked with. Like polynomial is x or 4x or 2x squared or even 10 is a polynomial. So gosh, please don't let this title scare you. You totally can do this. We're going to do a couple of examples and then I want you to come back and read this topic title and just go, I can do that. Alright, so we're just going to jump right in. Here's our first univariate polynomial. Let's see, so we're going to go 9y squared. So we're just going to have all y's in this. There's a plain y, minus 5, close that parentheses. We're having a difference because we're subtracting here. Here's our second polynomial. Let's do negative 4y squared plus, we'll say 2y plus 7. Close that polynomial, and here we'll just add this last one. So there's our 3. Let's do 9y squared minus 9y plus 7. Three things. This minus that plus that. Alright, and that's what we're going to be doing. We're just going to remember that. Something minus something plus something. So what we're going to do is trying to decide. Let's put our y squareds into boxes. Should I switch colors of pen? Let's see if I can do this without having to. Yep, I'm still recording. Alright, so let's put the 9y squared in boxes. Over here we have a negative. Again, notice that I'm hooking in the sign in front of the number because they're important. If there is one, I'm hooking it in. Alright, our plain old y's, we're going to hook in the sign in front of them. We're going to put those guys in circles. 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 Alright, and then, alright, let's be really wild and crazy. For the plain old numbers, we're going to do triangles. And again, get that sign in front of them. So it's a little bit squished. Hopefully in your notes while you're writing this down and doing it, you've got a little bit bigger area to write in. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back and we're just looking at the boxes. Alright, and maybe I'll switch back, because I can. I'm going to switch back to blue. Oh yeah, this is fun. Okay, we're going to look at the boxes. Our first box is 9y squared. We have a minus sign here. So we're going to go minus. What's the next box? Negative 4y squared is in the next box. We have a plus sign here. Write that down. And what's our last box? 9y squared. Alright, we've isolated all of our y squared. They're all like terms, so we can just go right through. 9y squared minus a negative, we can cancel that out. Boop, boop. So now it's 9y squared plus 4y squared. I'm going to take baby steps here. This is kind of what your brain is doing. And your brain just told you, dude, 9y squared plus 4y squared is 13y squared. And now we need to add that other 9y squared. 13y squared plus 9y squared is going to give us 22y squared. There's our y squared term. We'll come back to that in a minute. Now that we got our boxes done, let's look at our circles. We have a negative 2y in our first circle. What's the sign between the parentheses? We have a minus sign. What's our next circle? A plus 2y. And then we have a plus sign here between the last two parentheses. So we're going to put that in, and our last circle is negative 9y. Again, we're going to just go from left to right. What's negative 2 minus 2y? Negative 2y minus 2y is negative 4y. That's your brain. And then what is negative 4y plus negative 9y? Well, that's negative 13y. We have just taken care of our circles. Last but not least, those triangles are clamoring for attention. Our first triangle from the left is negative 5. The sign in between the parentheses is a minus. Our next triangle is a 7. We don't have to put the plus. Or the plus in front of the 7. Our excuse me, our last sign between the parentheses is a plus, and our last triangle is a 7. Again, left to right. What is negative 5 minus 7? That's going to be negative 12. Negative 12 plus 7 brings us right back down to the negative 5. We have 3 answers. We string them together with plus signs. If you have a negative thing you're stringing, you can just leave it as, you could either put plus negative 13y or minus 13y. Either one you want is totally a-okay in my book. So we just attacked this thing. We broke it down. We looked for all the y squareds, put a shape around those. Looked for all the y's, put a shape around, different shape around those, and looked for the plain old numbers and put a third shape around those. And the main thing is these dark arrows where I have them. Sorry about that. These dark arrows here are the only things that can really trip you up. That's what I call the good housekeeping part, keeping track of those. All right, let's try another one. Let's slide this guy up. All right, how about another doozy? Let's do 6x squared plus 5x minus 1 plus 3x squared minus 7x minus 2 minus, last parentheses, how about, we've used 5, let's do 8x squared minus 3x plus 4. Again, 3 parentheses, we're adding and subtracting in between them. We have one letter that we're dealing with, that's x. So again, what I would suggest is either using colored pencils or whatnot. I'm going to change to orange. Haha, so cool. Alright, so let's put boxes around our x squareds. Boom, 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 boom. And here's an 8x squared. Let's put circles around our x's, and don't forget to include those signs in front of the numbers. They are married. There's no divorce in math. And we need to circle our negative 3x. And we'll give triangles to the plain old lonely silly numbers without letters. There we go. Got all those done? Alright, I'm going to go back to blue, and we're going to break this out, and we're going to look at our rectangles first. So the first rectangle gives us a 6x squared. This sign is a plus, so we need a plus next. Our next rectangle is a 3x squared. This sign is a minus. That's going to be the trickiest one we need to remember each time. And then finally the 8x squared. Again, I'm going to do baby steps here. 6x squared plus 3x squared, your brain knows, but I'm going to write it down in this step. We have 9x squared, and then we have to subtract that 8x squared that was still hanging out there. That's going to give us 1x squared. Alright, circles, let's bring it. 5x is in our first circle. We have a plus sign here we need to bring in. Our next circle is a 7x negative, so don't forget that negative sign. And we have this negative sign or subtraction sign that is so uber important. And our last circle is negative 3x. Now we really need to clean up. This is what I'm talking about, good housekeeping. Writing it out maybe the first time you write it is like, ew. But look at, we can fix this. Minus a negative between the 7x and the 3x cancels out to plus a positive. Now we're going to do just the baby steps. 5x plus negative 7x, that's negative 2x. And now we have to add the 3x. Negative 2x plus 3x. Wow, we're getting a lot of ones here. Alright, and then finally the triangles. Our first triangle is a negative 1. Don't forget the plus sign. Our next triangle is a negative 2. We need our minus sign. Last triangle is 4. Kind of eyeball it. Are there any minus and negatives to take care of? No. So what is negative 1 plus negative 2? That's going to be negative 3. And then negative 3 minus 4 gives us negative 7. Plug it all together. We have 1x squared plus 1x plus negative 7, or you could have put minus 7 if you wanted, and that would have been absolutely fine. So again, the title of this sounded disgusting. Probably when you first wrote it out, you were like gonna gag. It's pretty terrible. We've done 2 of them, and I'm hoping that you're feeling like this is a logical way to do it. You can tackle it if you just slow yourself down, isolate the different types that are similar, and then just ring it out. So let's try one more, okay? Alright, on this last one, I'm going to do what I usually suggest. I'm going to have you copy it down, hit that pause button, and then try to work it out in your notebooks. and then hit the play and see if we end up with the same thing. Alright, first parentheses, let's do 4w squared minus 3w plus 6, close parentheses. We'll do a minus here, open parentheses. 10w squared plus 6w minus 3, close parentheses. And we're going to put another minus sign, oh yeah. What other number do I want to use? How about 14w squared minus 6w plus 1. Whoa. Alright, if you want to hit that pause button after you got it written down, that would be a good thing to try. Try it, give it a whirl on your own, and then come on back and see if we get the same thing. Alright, I'm going to do purple this time to isolate all my stuff. Alright, so rectangles for the w squareds again. Purple's pretty. Alright, circles, circles, and circles. And then triangles, triangles, and triangles. Cool, I'll switch back to blue. Blue's my favorite. Alright, we're going to put our rectangles up. We got a 4w squared. We have a minus sign between the first two parentheses. Our next rectangle is 10w squared. We have another minus sign between the second and third parentheses, and our last rectangle is 14. Alright, so let's take these two. What's 4w squared minus 10w squared? That's going to be negative 6w squared. Copy the rest. Negative 6w squared minus 14w squared, that's negative 20w squared. Cool. Let's move on to our circles. We have a negative 3w, a minus between the parentheses. Our next circle is a 6w, a minus between the parentheses, and our last circle is negative 6w. Alright, let's do these two. Negative 3 minus 6 is going to be negative 9. Oh, and I could have gone boop, boop. That makes it a lot easier. Negative 9w plus 6w is going to give us a negative 3w. Alright, finally to the triangles. 6 minus between the parentheses. Next triangle is negative 3, a minus between the parentheses, and the last triangle is 1. I got a minus a negative, boop, boop. Change it to plus a positive. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 minus 1 is 8. So our final answer is negative 20w squared plus negative 3w, or just minus 3w, plus 8. One word, it might seem really tedious to do this. Sure enough, as you get a little quicker and more confident, depending on your math intuition and strength, you might be able to do it without writing them all out. You might be able to go through it sort of in your head, letting your finger, like keep track of where you are. That's completely feasible. Just suggesting one way to do it where it's very efficient, very accurate, and it really slows you down so that you have good housekeeping skills. So you can maybe eventually just kind of like look at the rectangles without having to write them down, and then look at the circles without having to write them all out. So that might be a little handy, little trick to do. And yeah, alright, I hope that this helped. Thanks for watching.